And welcome indeed to Bullseye. Darek Sharp with Caylee, Cottrell, and Joey Johnston as the Bulls looking forward to Charlotte, and we'll do the same, but we'll look back to last Saturday at Raymond James Stadium. Hey, we don't tell you stuff just to tell you stuff. We told you that Navy can throw the ball. Navy is a tough team. Navy got a big touchdown pass right before halftime that turned a 14-0 game, and maybe one that should have been closer into a 21-0, and eventually beat the Bulls 28-7. So before we move ahead, Joey Johnston, I know you're on the sidelines for our radio coverage. Navy came as advertised, I take it?
Yes, they did, and I'll tell you this, there were times where I wasn't sure where the ball was, and that's the problem with Navy is they do sleight of hand. They are magicians out there, and they are really good at what they do. I mean, that quarterback, Blake Horvath, is tremendous, and they're a tough team to prepare for. I think USF, by and large, played a pretty good game defensively against Navy. Navy hit us with some tough, explosive plays, including the one right before halftime that was a killer. But the defense, all things considered, played very, very well. But you've got to play almost perfect to contend with that Navy team. And if you aren't producing points on your end, it makes it even harder. So kind of fell behind the 8 ball, and it was a difficult task. But I think USF probably played overall pretty well against them, just not well enough.
On our radio pregame show, we mentioned how 2 games specifically against Memphis and against UAB, they took a close game into one where they were eventually up by multiple scores because of, whereas in the past, Navy would just run the ball into halftime. They completed a big pass, and that's exactly what happened. But some of the other cool things that happened in the game, I thought the salute to service, I thought the Bulls uniforms were outstanding. I thought the pageantry was great. And I thought Friday was fantastic as well. You did a fantastic job with Jim Lauck on the TV side of the on-campus stadium, groundbreaking. Give us some thoughts on that, because I was watching it from afar.
I mean, first thing that comes to mind is monumental, and I said that to Jim too. What a day that was! So much to celebrate. You know, for that crowd to come and just feel the pride of where this program is still going to go. You know, we're just at the start, so everything that's still to come is so exciting. And even talking to the alumni earlier in the week, you know, Jay Mize even said, you know, I'm not a jealous person, but I'm really jealous of these facilities and what these guys have, and it's super cool. MVS said the same thing, even with the IPF, and everyone can't wait for it. So monumental day, very fun to be a part of.
Fantastic, fantastic turnout, and again, great job on that. Speaking of that, before we look forward, you always get a chance to catch up with somebody for our feature in this show.
To Stokes this week.
Stokes, all right.
Yeah,
some punting tongue.
I crashed his lunch at Champs a few days ago.
Champs, for those of you who don't know, that's the name of the area. We're Champions, the student-athlete lunch area and dinner area.
Yeah, we just sat and chatted and had a great about 30-minute talk. But so that'll get narrowed down to a couple minutes for you guys.
I was just about to say, as much as I love punters and you and Stokesy, all right, so we'll edit that down.
Yeah, but what a guy and what a year he's having. So super cool to hear more about his background, what it really took for him to come here, and what he's achieved here. Very cool guy.
Outstanding. And another cool guy on the team, Michael Williams II. Caylee and I will sit down in a little bit. At the end of the show, we'll talk about some other things that are happening non-football related, namely Jose Fernandez with a big opportunity for women's basketball for a celebration on Thursday night. So we'll cover it all. We'll get with head coach Alex Golesh to kick things off here on Bullseye. Darek Sharp here with the head coach Alex Golesh and Joey Johnston as the Bulls lose one to Navy. Coach, most games, and I know you don't take any losses lightly, you take them to heart. But sometimes you watch a game back and maybe a few days later like we are, and I looked at it and went, maybe the football gods were just like, nope, sorry USF, it's not going to happen today, because there were a handful of plays. Not if you make all 5. If you make one, it's a different game. Can you appreciate that while also appreciating what needs to be worked on?
Man, that's a really positive.
Yeah, I know. That's how I thought about the whole thing.
Man, you know what? I don't know if I look at it that way. I'm encouraged and discouraged. Encouraged by the effort. Encouraged by the amount of young guys that continue to just get better every week, and encouraged by where we're going because of how many guys we played and how many of these guys are getting such valuable experience as we continue to build a foundation. Discouraged by the execution, and it's little detail here, little detail there, which adds up to an explosive play given up or an explosive play that doesn't happen.
Exactly.
And at the end of the day, it's still a matter of scoring more points than the other team. So when you look at it, you know, offensively, the 3 turnovers, and all 3 come at times where you're driving the ball, you're on the brink of scoring, and all 3 of them essentially either gave Navy the opportunity to go score or created crazy field position. 2 of them ended up scoring. And so when possessions are super limited the way that they are against a team like Navy, you've got to be able to maximize possessions, and discouraged by the fact that we couldn't execute. Defensively, encouraged by, you know, one of the big things that we had to get done was stop the play action pass game, and held them under 50 yards passing, which was absolutely huge. The other part of it was to stop the perimeter run game, and gave up 4 explosives there, which was the difference in the game. And when you do that, it's going to be, you're going to have to outscore them. You know, discouraged by those few things, discouraged by the last drive of the first half, really the swing of 2-minute drill, us giving the ball back, and then them on a 3rd down, and truly a critical error by one of our best players, and you end up with a guy open right down the chute, and end up going down 21-0, which then, again, when possessions are super limited, is harder than you want it to be to come back. And so then you're playing the second half different, where you're trying to force the ball down the field, and again, it's not been our game. And so encouraged by some, discouraged by some, and ready to flip the page.
I guess to be really specific, the end of the first half is when the football gods are really against you, so that's a good point right there. It's a big swing.
Hey, really physical game against Navy. And you mentioned it, you're banged up. Everybody's banged up this time of the year. So as we go to the middle of November, going down the stretch with a lot to play for, can you describe just what it's like for this team? You know, you've got guys going hard, and they're banged up. They're playing through some rough physical, and this happens every year, I know. But what is it like for a football team as you go to the middle of November with everything at stake, and you're just you know, trying to out-tough a difficult situation?
Yeah, I think that's where really 2 things come in. One, the culture of your team, in terms of guys continuing to play really, really hard for each other. That's been what we've tried to build from the day we got here, is continuing to pour into their process and continuing to play really, really hard for each other. The other part of it is us as coaches, now as different pieces, as maybe you lose a guy, and we went through it early with losing Byram. All right, now how do you adjust and put the next guy in the best situations to go win? And whether that's quarterback or D-line or safety, it doesn't really matter. One, is the next guy ready to roll, and can you plug and play, or is it, man, we got to play the game differently? And I think that's where schematically you got to be able to adjust, you got to be able to change, and you got to be able to put your guys in positions to be successful. For us, in a lot of ways, those next guy up is a young guy that obviously we feel really good about because they're here, or we brought him here. I've always been a guy that you'd rather play a guy too late than too early, in the sense that they've got to be ready to go, or the confidence is just going to get thrown out the window. And so we've had to play some guys before maybe they're ready. So in a negative, you're taking some of those lumps. On a positive, as you build depth and you build a roster top to bottom, as you continue to go through game to game to game into next season, you feel really encouraged. And so I think there's mixed emotions, but I think a lot of the coaching, because now where maybe the veteran guy or the guy that's played a handful of games, you don't have to keep coaching that. You can kind of focus on level 200 and 300 type stuff. You're back to level 100 with this guy. And again, there's positives and negatives to it. When you're right in the thick of it, you need those guys to step up really, really fast. And we've had some really, really cool freshman performances, redshirt freshman performances. You just don't necessarily want a bunch of them all at the same time.
Yeah.
Hey, before we look forward to this weekend, there's so much to play for still. I want to go back to last Friday at the groundbreaking ceremony. You were great. I love what you said basically about Whoop Weatherford just willing it into existence, to use a pun. And also Mac Harris, tremendously poised speaker, mentioning how the TGH Center is going to be so big for them. I guess he nicknamed it that. It was a great turnout, and did it really even lift up your encouragement towards the future?
Yeah, it was almost surreal. You know, even my wife was like, "Man, we sat in our living room talking about this 2 years ago, on a laptop, and it was kind of like, yeah, I'm sure, like whatever, we'll deal with it when we get there. It was kind of surreal to actually be standing there and have shovels in the ground, and it was a really, really cool moment to see. I guess in a lot of ways you don't realize how many people have poured so much into actually making it happen. I'm in a little bit of a bubble, and we spent a lot of time last off season working on the TGH Center and really working with the architects and the players rep and all of that, or the owners rep, to get it exactly how we want it for our guys, and to actually see the plans now. And they're going to continue to release renderings, but it's kind of surreal in a lot of ways. But I think in every imaginable way, it's a sign of things to come. It's a sign of the investment that's been made by our administration and so many other people, our donor base, our president. Man, there's so many people that involved in one, financially funding it, but two, having this vision going all the way back to Leroy Selman and Coach Levitt, and this vision of like, man, this is going to be an elite football program at some point. And I feel so much, one, pride, but two, I feel like I owe so much to get this thing going in the direction that everybody wants it in, which is a sustainable football program that's going to win for years to come. And that part's been really, really fun to go through. Tough moments. We all knew we were going to have them. So I think in a lot of ways it's surreal, but I'm more encouraged than ever. I can't wait to move into that building. I can't wait to run out of that tunnel in the new stadium, and it'll be an incredible day for our fans.
This is a very unique football program in so many ways. Still a very young program. You mentioned, the beginnings, training in trailers and all that, and how fast it came. How much do you use that in your recruiting pitch to not only what you're doing, but just what a unique place this is, and how fast it's come in a short amount of time in terms of, explaining it to the young kids?
Yeah, every day and every single time you sit down with a family that maybe hadn't been here, it's one of the reasons I wanted to be here, because you can really mold it and build it how you want. That's a really positive spin on it. The reality is, we're 27 years old as a football program, and you look around even our own state, there's programs literally 100 years ahead in terms of infrastructure, in terms of tradition, in terms of being able to point to however you want, to Heisman Trophy winners, to whatever. And we're tasked with a really, really fun project, which is making up 100 years in a couple of years.
That is
and
fun.
I think we talk about it so much where there's really two different ways to do this, and you're kind of trying to mix both, where you can try to put the very best team you can together and go get it in 1 year. Really hard to sustain that as if that's the approach. We came in here with the approach of, we're going to build it from the ground up. Yes, we're going to go into the transfer portal and fill holes as we need to, but more than anything, we're going to recruit young guys from this region. We're going to recruit young guys that grew up Florida, Georgia, and really the Southeast. We're going to go to some other places in the country, but we're going to build it with local guys, and we're going to bring them in. We're going to give them all the resources that we could possibly give them to be able to develop on the field, in the weight room, socially, all of it, academically. And we're going to build a sustainable program that's got 4 classes that could, as you go, you actually have sustainable success for years to come. And so you got to tell them the story. You got to tell them why you're doing what you're doing and how you're doing it. And at the end of the day, the people that we've been fortunate enough to be able to bring into this program are what sell it. But I think when guys understand what it actually took to get here, I'm honestly in a lot of ways reaping the rewards of what a lot of people tried to lay the groundwork and certainly did. I sat with Frank Morsani last year, and he sat down and literally told us the story of going door to door and Rotary Club to Rotary Club, and him and Leroy Selman and literally trying to raise that beginning, whatever it was, $15 million to get this started. It's so surreal that now we're building a
it's
stadium.
so unique. And then USF started football, and then all these other schools started football.
Yeah.
There was a time where it's like, well, we can't do it. It's impossible. We should have
Somebody
started.
actually wrote
I
a
think
book
so.
about that.
I think so. Yeah.
Probably was a really good writer too.
It is a great story. I've always maintained that USF football is a really cool story, and one day, I'm not sure who will play you in the movie, but I think it could be a good movie.
That's a good question.
Yeah.
I have to think about that for a
think
second.
about that, yeah.
We wrap it up. One of the only programs I can think of that the Bulls would play that they have a head start on is this week in Charlotte. Never played in that stadium before in a regular season game against the 49ers. 15,000, so it's going to be a different vibe. Speak about the opponent and how this starts off, like I said before, a lot to play for still for your team.
Yeah, I think, second year of their program as they're trying to find their footing. They've played some really, really good football throughout the year. I think for us it'll be a challenge defensively just because similar to last week, a little bit different in terms of what these guys do. They focus on running the football every imaginable way. They've had success running the ball. They've stayed in games because of it. They've played 3 different quarterbacks, and I think they're still trying to find their way there. In terms of defensively, it's so revamped from what we saw a year ago. We got them at the end of the year. Everybody was beat up. There was a bunch of young guys playing. They went and totally reloaded the D-line. I think really good up front. Reloaded the secondary, and guys play hard. You could tell that they believe in the staff. They believe in what's going on. And which has allowed them, they're super battle tested. They played a really good Indiana team early, played a really good JMU team early, and then, played a really solid North Carolina team early, took Memphis to the last play of the game.
Right.
They've played really, really close games, and I think they're trying to find their footing in terms of how they're going to go finish as well. I got a lot of respect. Those kids love Biff. They love playing for him, and he's easy to love in that regard. So it'll be a really, really good challenge for us to go on the road in the conference as we continue to find our footing and continue to find our identity. It'll be fun.
And it'll also be long sleeve shirt weather for radio guys. Coach has already got that covered.
Thanks for reminding me of that.
Maybe not their opposing coach, but it should be fun. We'll talk about it next week and get you set for the last home game of the season for the Bulls. Thanks a lot, Coach Golesh.
Thank you.
Michael Williams, the second on the defensive line, joins us next.
Thanks for letting me join you.
No problems.
How does the nutrition side of things and the training look different for the Specs?
We're still expected to do the same workouts that the rest of the team is, but just kind of want to keep your body healthy and have it get through the year as best it can. I think that's the same with diet. Obviously, we want to eat healthy and be at our peak as well so we can perform what we need to, but it's not like we're on strict diets and we have to eat certain foods.
Have you ever gone to an Outback restaurant here and just shook your head?
Yeah. Yeah, I have. My position group used to always want to go there for position group dinner.
Okay, but the Outback, that's where the bugs are?
That's mostly where the bugs and animals, things like that are. 21 of the top 25 most poisonous steaks. Felt something on my hand and I looked down and I just see this spider the width of my hand looking up at me. It took off and ran up my arm. I chopped it at my shoulder. For the rest of the day, any little bit of wind on the hair on my arms had me on edge.
Had you jumping?
Yeah.
A little spooked?
Yeah, just a little spooked.
Any age, it'd be exciting to come to the States, get an education, play the game you love. Why not?
Yeah,
right?
For me it was always, I wanted to do something different that nobody had done in my friend group back home. I'm going to come out of this with a winner no matter what. So I was definitely nervous to leave my family and friends behind. I mean, my family and I are super, super close. So you got to take some risks in life to find success and to get something out of it. The close friends that I've got, they're all pretty sarcastic and it's a very Australian feel to it as well. I feel at home quite well when I'm around them. That was the other thing I was worried about was the age bracket and how my teammates would take to it. Boys don't treat me as the old guy. They call me grandpa, but they just treat me as one of the boys.
I watch you guys in practice and you guys are putting in the work, but at the same time, there's so many smiles.
You want to have fun and enjoy what you're doing. That's how you're going to get the most out of yourself. So Coach Cream is big on that and he wants us to enjoy ourselves, but he also wants us to know where the line is and obviously lock in and be focused and get your work done.
You're having a heck of a year. Is there anything that has been different for you at all, or what is working so well this year for you?
For me, I would put it down to really fine-tuning my process. I think last year I was getting some things figured out, and trying to find out what works best for me. But started enjoying my football a lot more. I know it's obviously my last season, so I'm trying to get the most out of myself while I'm here. I don't really leave any stone unturned. Try and figure out sort of what little changes I need to make, but then also we catch up with Dr. Lee and work out what we need to do in terms of the mental training side of it. I'm in the nutritionist, the strength staff, the medical team. I could go on and on.
Thank you for letting me crash your lunch today. I appreciate you.
Appreciate it. Thanks.
Thank you.
Joined by one of the members of the defensive line, Michael Williams II. Got to make sure I refer to you properly. We always love to give you some of the behind-the-scenes stuff. Right before we started taping, Sean Atkins was giving you crap, and you said to him, he's your inspiration, and he said you're his. So is there a backstory there?
I mean, me and Sean, like we live in the same neighborhood. Like me and Bryce are roommates.
Okay.
And Sean comes over all the time. We always hanging out, like literally just around Sean all the time. And like obviously a lot of the stuff that he's done, like even being a walk-on, like that's amazing, bro. So obviously I look up to him and like the journey that he's had to come through. So
that's outstanding. Can you believe it sometimes? I mean, if you dig deep into his numbers, it's crazy. It's pretty amazing. So you came here. I've never really talked to you about your high school days because I didn't watch a lot of West Bloomfield High School.
Yeah.
Sorry about that in
No,
Michigan. But your senior season, I guess if I would have watched any of your games, you would have been living in the backfield. 23.5 sacks, a number that stood for like 15 years in Michigan. So what was the experience like up there?
It was obviously very, very fun. Like life was good up there. High school life was good. Friend life was good. Family made everything very easy. As far as football went, my freshman year was obviously my hardest transition because I came from a private school kind of, and it wasn't really like a football deal. Like we played football, but it wasn't huge at the school. We were more of a basketball school. So when I transferred to West Bloomfield, and they were like this big powerhouse football school, I was like, all right, bet now I can actually like get right and do what I got to do. My sophomore year, that was my first year starting on varsity. I played that whole season. We lost in either the semis or the quarterfinals. I can't remember.
Sorry to bring that up, but
no, it's all good.
good.
Like,
You've
it's
gotten
behind
past
me.
it. Okay.
It's behind me now. But the next year after that, we came back and we won the state championship. We beat that team to get to the state championship, so it made everything better.
There we go.
But I sat out that year because I tore both my ACLs, so I sat out that year.
Wow.
Just a rough year.
So you made up for it in your senior season.
Yeah, I had
23 and a half.
I had
he
to.
combined his numbers for the junior and senior season into
to.
one, so that was good.
I
All right, so a little bit chilly in Michigan, I guess.
Yeah, so my senior year, our first playoff game, I want to say it was like 25 degrees and it was snowing the entire game.
Man.
And playing defense in the cold or offense, just at all, getting hit in the cold isn't fun. But
So,
after you hit enough, you get warmed up.
So this weekend in Charlotte, when it's going to be like in the low 40s, oh
You're
man.
used to
I'm
it.
vibing.
You're used to it. I like it. Well, what did that football scene look like in Michigan? How did you get into it? Take us back to the early days.
Oh my gosh. So I would probably say like it all started with my dad. My dad was like the owner, like the president of a youth league, and I played for that league growing all the way up until I got to middle school because he had this dumb weight limit thing, and like I was always bigger than everybody else growing up. So eventually it got to a point where I was so much bigger than everybody else at my age limit, I had to move on and play like middle school because everybody else was just not the same size, I guess. And it wasn't fair because I had all my friends on that team. I had to go do other stuff, and it wasn't fun, but did what I had to do.
So that was actually probably good prep for moving up quickly,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, it was, honestly. And having my dad there as a coach, like, there were some days I got in the car and I knew, like, walking to the car, like, I'm not even going to try him today because it was just a bad day. Like, bad practice, bad game, but he always had my back, so.
Wow. So you grew up football,
Very
but
much so.
also you've become this football player / comedian in a lot of people's eyes. And when did that
We
develop?
love it. We
Sounds
love
like your
it.
dad wasn't giving that off to you.
Nah, people tell me a lot that I need to be more serious and like walk around straight faced a lot more, and it's just not me. Like I just can't walk around not smiling just because everybody's day gets better when they see somebody smiling. Like I see somebody smiling, it just like it rubs off on me, and I feel like it helps me a lot when I show up and I see all my teammates happy, smiling, joking around in the locker room, it just brings a good vibe. So I'm like, why would I be sad when everybody else around me is happy?
Of course.
I love it.
Good
And you have
vibes.
a fun room too. Talk to me about your D linemen.
So I would probably say is my favorite group of guys I've played with in my lifetime. As far as like Hawk, BZ, hey Mike.
Someone giving him crap right there.
As far as like Hawk, BZ, Blue, man, them are some of the best guys to look up to, honestly. Like they're older, you know. Hawk came from FAU, but he's been a good tutor to me, like honestly, because he does all of the positions up front. So like watching him do some of the different stuff that he does, it rubs off on me and it shows me like what I can do to try to, you know, maybe get past somebody or defeat somebody better this way. And then having young dudes that look up to us, like, and we're teaching them is awesome because they're like sponges. Like whatever we do, they want to do.
Awesome.
And if we're doing the right thing, then they start doing the right thing, and now everybody doing the right thing.
That's great.
And then having KP at the head of it.
I was just about to ask, because we had Hawk on a couple weeks ago, and I asked
Hawk
him,
is your boy, by the way.
Hawk is my guy.
I told him KP to me is like a football dad, but I
Yeah.
know he's completely different with you guys.
KP.
Talk to me about him.
KP is like here. I would definitely say KP is my biggest supporter. Honestly, like I've had rough days. I've had tough times, obviously, but like through all of it, KP's always like taught me to like keep a level head. Don't get too high. Don't get too low. And like even on my good days, he'd be like, "All right, good play, but like next play, like don't even think about that play." And I would just say like having that, and not just having somebody always constantly like telling me I'm doing good stuff. It's always like a constant reminder, like things can get better or worse at any given time.
Well, I was going to say it's a good answer, but I'll change that. Your answer could have been better, so next one's going to be really good. Just kidding. Let me ask you about how different is it preparing for a team like Navy? I know there. You guys didn't see it. He closed his eyes. I mean, you have got to retrain your brain, right? And how was KP with that? And Tio?
That was probably the most technically sound week we would have had to have. Is anybody playing triple option, you know you're gonna be hitting. They're not gonna be throwing the ball much. You have to be in every gap. Like if somebody's not doing their job, obviously like something's gonna break. And going from that to Charlotte this week, like it's almost like we can see everything in like a much bigger picture. Like we can see stuff that we didn't see before because we just played against this team that we had to focus so much on.
Wow, that's a good answer, actually. I'll give you full credit for that one. All right, one other thing I got to ask you about number 14.
Yeah.
Because you think of number 14, you think of one position. Quarterback. Actually, the other 14 on the team is a quarterback.
Marcellus.
It's exactly Marcellus Day.
Yeah.
It is not a defensive lineman number. There's got to be a story there. Please
So-
tell me it wasn't random.
No. So when I was first coming here, I was thinking about what I was gonna do and like what number I was gonna wear. Because when I was first coming here, like a few dudes were wanting 4, somebody already had it, and I was like, no, I'm a freshman. I'm not even gonna try to get it. There's no point.
Yeah.
And after I think he graduated, and I was staying here. JV, I love JV. If you're seeing this, JV, I'm taking that number next year. 4 is my number. That's me.
This is some
But-
scoop stuff here.
but-
and respect.
But out of all the numbers, I was like, I mean, you got 1 and you got 4. I wore both those numbers in high school. I was like,
Boom.
it's the closest thing to 4 I'm gonna get for right now. And now people know me for it. So people around campus be like, Mike Will made it. Big 14 know what's going on. I'm like, all right, cool.
Wait a
Like,
second.
now-
So you're telling me it's all going to be out the window next year?
I
a good
don't
story.
Even, I don't even know. Like,
Okay, all right.
Like I like it.
All
I
right.
like it right now. I like that it's grown on me. Obviously, like it's very noticeable.
To be determined.
Well, another thing I want the story behind is on your Instagram, I see a lot of your captions, and in your bio, you use the otter emoji. What is that?
Okay. So the truth behind that is my good teammate from last year, Day used that emoji just about in everything he did. Like whether it was a good thing, bad thing, like whether he was mad, happy, like he used that emoji just about in every situation. So I'm like, Otter looks cool. Like he chilling, like I'm chilling. Let's use it. So I literally just used it in my most recent post.
You did. That's
I
what
love
made
it.
me think of it.
I love it. My parents asked me the same thing, like, what's that otter about? I'm like, it's just an otter. Like, are we beefing with otters now?
You know what? The more you think about an otter, Otters are always really cute and funny, like you. Are cute. Yeah, I mean, yeah. But they can also look like they could turn on you.
They could turn.
So
It's
in a serious situation, you can turn. Like, you get serious when it matters, right?
Yeah, I have to. I have to.
All right, so otter makes complete sense. All right, hey, last week we debuted a little bit of equipment with Mr. Perry. So show people.
Let's
This
see
is
it.
beautiful. This is beautiful. Michael Williams.
I love
the
it.
second.
If you can't see the little 14 right here on the bottom.
There it is.
So,
There it is.
so if you guys are interested in any of Michael Williams' gear, I keep saying Michael Williams the second. You don't have a nickname?
I mean, they just be calling me Mike Will.
Mike Will's all right.
Well,
Mike Will. Just,
I like that.
Just chill.
Same website as last week, athletesthread.com. I actually looked it up, and there's a nice little array of.
Just a little bit of stuff. You
All
know.
right.
If y'all feeling froggy, y'all can definitely go look at that.
Froggy or ottery. Go to athletesthread.com. Hey, good luck this weekend, Charlotte.
Thank you.
Thanks for the time.
Thank you so much, guys.
Thanks,
Michael
Mike.
We will wrap the show up next. Really had fun talking to Michael Williams II, who's having a career year as far as tackles for losses and sacks, and that defense looks to keep it going this week. Against Charlotte, I mentioned with Coach Golesh, first time playing them there, but the Bulls have been there a couple times, Joey.
Yeah, interestingly enough, 2 bowl games, including the first ever bowl game for the Bulls, the Meineke Car Care Bowl, and then really one of the best wins in school history when B.J. Daniels took the Bulls up to Charlotte to the Meineke Car Care Bowl and defeated Clemson. So a very, very great postseason win, maybe the best postseason win the Bulls have had. So even though it's first time playing the 49ers in Charlotte, USF does have a pretty good history in that city.
Guy that joins us on the radio side with Joey is Sam Barrington, who had one of the most famous hits on the goal line against Clemson.
Oh my gosh.
So I'm sure we'll be talking about that.
That's on YouTube,
Yeah,
Sam will point out. You can watch it.
It'll be prominently featured. Hey, speaking of prominently featured, I know you do a lot of work for GoUSFBulls.com. I read it, as I know a lot of people do. You've been working on something on the women's basketball coach, and it's all coming together this Thursday night.
Yeah, well, Thursday night it will be the big celebration for Jose Fernandez's 25th season. And it's going to go on the whole season, the celebration, but this specifically is to recognize that. And did a big feature on just, the improbability of this whole thing. I happened to be there the day he walked in the door, met him for the first time when he was the recruiting coordinator. And the women's basketball program did not have many accomplishments at that moment. And I stand in complete awe of what the program has become under Jose. So it's kind of a look at Jose when he walked in the door, what he had in mind for this program, what has happened, and how he has evolved as a person and a coach. First of all, to be anywhere, coaching or a job for 25 years, impossible. I mean, nobody does that anymore. So we have to celebrate the fact of that kind of continuity and longevity that he has shown, and he is as fiery as he ever has been. He wants to keep building this program and do things that haven't been done before. So Jose 25, if you call it that, is part of this week, and the story will be up on GoUSFBulls.com with the top 25 Jose games and the top 25 Jose players.
Oh, I love it.
And when you look at those players, you'll be pretty impressed. There's been some talent come through this program.
And at the very bottom, the top 5 women's basketball play-by-play people on the radio, which I hope I'm pulling for.
You're among the top 25. No, you're number one, Darek. You're number one.
It's funny you mentioned being at somewhere for 25 years, because I was on the radio call Sunday at UConn, where Gino Auriemma, 40 years, and when he took over that program, they had one winning season. Jose's kind of done something similar here, and they play Vanderbilt on Thursday night. Also want to shout out volleyball, which we are planning on Sunday morning, having a chance to win a regular season conference championship. That is big stuff. As far as the football team goes, do you have long sleeve shirts? Do you have cold weather gear? You guys are all going to need
I was going to say.
I think she does. I'm just guessing.
I don't want to say this the wrong way, but you better be ready to wear some pants, Joey.
I'll do it. I like cold weather. We just haven't had much of it around here, so if it's going to be chilly, I'm down for it.
I
Let's
like
go.
to visit cold weather.
Yeah, me too. Oh,
and then come back to the heat.
for sure.
Run.
But
Visit
I'll
cold
break
weather,
out the
yes.
pants and the jackets for the first time.
Don't want to live in snow, but I like to see it.
Yeah.
And we wrap up with some trivia on the opponent, Charlotte 49ers. You guys know why they're called the 49ers by any stretch. That's okay. You're not
I should
supposed
know
to.
it.
I had to look it up. It was the first year as school at Charlotte. They were kind of a temporary institution in 46, then in 49, and apparently when the gold rush happened, Charlotte was a big place in the South for gold, so it all kind of made sense.
Interesting.
Didn't know that.
Well, that's why you watch the show,
more you know.
and that's why you stick to the very end. We save the gold nuggets for the very end.
Nice.
We'll talk next week ahead of the last home game of the season for the Bulls, and we hope to have, 4 more games to talk about, that is for sure. We love covering it for you. For Joey Johnston, for Caylee, Cottrell, and of course Alex Golesh and Michael Williams II, our guests this week, thanks for watching Bullseye. Keep those horns up.